Okay, hi guys. Obviously, I'm thirsty immediately when I start the video. Sorry about that. Okay guys, so excuse my voice. I feel like I'm getting a bit cold or a bit sick. I'm getting a cold, I'm getting a bit sick. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about something which is a bit difficult to define, so I think I'm gonna have a bit of trouble finding a title. But this video was partly inspired by a video that Ariel posted maybe yesterday or the day before yesterday, and the video was entitled "Do you need a degree in literature to be on booktube?" I encourage or I invite you to watch the video if you haven't already. I think it was a very interesting and insightful video, and this really motivated me to talk about that, even though I feel like I disagree on some points. Obviously, I feel like you don't need a degree in literature or in anything to be on booktube or to give your opinion or your insights on a matter on YouTube or on Twitter or on anywhere else. That being said, I do think that we need to be clear about the value of education, the value of degrees, and the value of education that's not necessarily in uni or validated by a degree or a diploma. I have a degree in linguistics and I have a degree in literature. So I have 2 masters, and I don't think it makes me more intelligent than anyone else. I don't think it makes me smarter than someone who does not have those degrees. However, it would be a lie for me to say that I don't think this adds something to my perspectives. Obviously, if I studied literature for 5 years, if I wrote 2 dissertations on 2 different topics, if you're interested, the first one for me was vegetarianism in the European literature of the 19th century, and my second dissertation was on the feminine, I would say, yeah, I guess, the feminine in Egyptian, French, and Japanese surrealism. It'd be a lie for me to say that those years, those dissertations, and all of those papers and essays that I had to write didn't add something to my knowledge, didn't add something to my perspective, didn't make me somehow a more critical thinker, a more literary person in a way. And I feel like, and hear me on that, I feel like this is something we are a bit shy to say when it comes to humanities, but not when it comes to other sciences. Let me explain. If someone has a master's in physics, or if someone has a master's in math even, no one's going to pretend that their opinion or their knowledge of physics and math are equal to the ones of someone who has a master's in those sciences, right? And that's totally true, and that's totally valid. Now, it does not mean that you're not in a position where you can ask yourselves questions about those disciplines, where you can, question or be a bit like skeptical when someone explains to you how physics should work and how we should use physics in society, or why math are important. It does not mean that you have to refrain from any sort of like analysis or thinking or reflection on those topics. No, it doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that also you can't, inform yourself or educate yourself outside of university on those topics. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say, and I think it's really clear and really obvious to a lot of us, is that when it comes to philosophy, not so much, but when it comes to arts, when it comes to literature, when it comes to sociology, I think that a lot of people don't take them seriously enough to think that the knowledge and the references and the data and everything that you learn at uni is as important and as serious and as scientific in a way as it is for math and physics, for example. Now, when I say it's as scientific, I guess it isn't completely true. Personally, the reason why I find this thing so beautiful is that if you read a book, even if you are not trained and educated or whatever to analyze the book like someone who has a master's in literature would, you can still enjoy it, you can still be moved, you can still get something from it, you can still have debates with yourself about what's in the book. Whereas math and physics are things that are not going to move you in such a way. And that's why I think humanities are so beautiful and so damn important, because they're way more, in my opinion, connected to our core as human beings. But I also think that it would be a very detrimental thing to do because they are so universal, and because they're so important to us as a whole, and because they can so easily move or question or make someone feel something, or because you can be someone who has no qualification in literature and you could read Dostoevsky and you could read whoever you want to read and get something out of it, and understand the book even, really. It doesn't mean that you understand it and you read it like someone who has a master's or who has a PhD in literature. I think it really is one of the reasons why humanities are not valued as much as hard science. It's also just because, we think those things are subjective, and we think there's no rule to that, and we think it's up to everyone. And I also feel like there is a sort of reject, especially on booktube, of the classics and the idea that classics are better books. And I feel like my opinion on that is very controversial, and maybe people are gonna disagree highly with me. But I do not think that you can compare, for example, Tolstoy or Kawabata or I don't know, Shelley or Flaubert or Victor Hugo or whoever, Dante for example, to a book that's like The Fault in Our Stars. There are books that are made to be enjoyed, and that's it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like it's a bit of a lie, it's a bit of a hypocritical thing to say, to put them all on the same level. I do believe that the category of classics really need to be perceived a bit more critically, in the sense that there aren't many women in there aren't many people of color in that, there aren't many openly queer people in that, but I would say that this is actually the one category that's the most present out of the three I mentioned just previously. But it doesn't mean that we have to take out books off the classic shelves. We had to put in more books. And so I think it says something, however, that on YouTube and on booktube more precisely, the vast majority of the content is young adult, is YA. I think it is because classics are seen as something that's difficult and time consuming, and that's true. If you want to read a classic, you have to prepare for a read. You have to make sure you understand things. You may have to use a dictionary even. You may have to read the same sentence 3 or 4 times to understand it. For example, if you take something that has been written in the 18th century or the 17th century, you might not be very familiar with all the historical or philosophical references present in the book. So that means you also have to research those things, and I understand that not everyone wants to do that. But that's why, and that's when I think the literary education, and like the master's or the bachelor or whatever you want, comes into play, because those things are not necessarily easy to understand. And there is a huge tradition in literature, if you talk about the lyrical aspect of books, if you talk about the tropes that are very commonly used, if you talk about tragedy, if you talk about I don't know, rewritings of certain plays, if you talk about even traditions that are unique to each country, those are things you need to learn. There is actually a literary history, and personally, as a French student in literature, I had to go through literary history, literary theories, study of the style, and even some linguistics, and I think it is very important. And to say that someone who has never studied any of those, sort of like, to say that their comments or their appreciation of a book would immediately be of the same value than someone who has studied all those things, I don't think it is entirely true. And we would never say that for any other science or any other field of study. So that's where I stand really, and I think it is a very important thing to say. I don't believe that it is because we're trying to find new classics or because we're tired of this old white man that there is mostly YA on YouTube. I don't believe that a single moment. I think the reason why there is so much YA on YouTube, on booktube, is because people are not trained to read classics, people are not willing to give time to classics, people are made, we make people feel, we make people feel like they're not good enough to read classics, which is such a disgusting thing to do in my opinion, because I do believe that everyone can read classics. You don't need, and I think I really don't want people to misunderstand me about all the things I said, you don't need to have a master's and you don't need to read a book as someone who would perhaps make a class about the book after, or someone who would write a dissertation about the book, to understand the book, to appreciate the book, to enjoy the book, and to get something out of it. No, you don't need to, but I think those are two different types of reading, and therefore there are two different kinds of commentaries that can, just happen after the reading. Be free to disagree with everything that I said in this video and let me know about your opinion in the comment. That being said, I find it I really enjoy, by the way, modern classics as well, just so that it's clear, and I also read things that are not considered classics, but yeah, that being said, I really want to ask you guys if you have any recommendations for booktubers, because I am tired of seeing the same books reviewed over and over again. I really like Better Than Food book reviews, I really like Cynthia, I really like, who else? A few people actually. Oh, Climb the Stacks and different people that I may forget right now. But please let me know if you have any recommendations. And by the way, I mentioned that on my Twitter a few days ago. If you are someone who likes to read, if you like to read diversely and differently than what's happening on booktube at the moment, and you're tired as well of not finding diversity in the recommendations, I would strongly encourage you to get on board and have a booktube channel. Personally, I would love to hear more people talk about different books from different authors, and just something different, not just the Victorian literature or the YA that's written by American or English people. Please, I want to hear more diverse recommendations and reviews and analysis. I beg you. So yeah, that was my opinion on that. I just wanted to chat a little bit with you about that. It's not I guess it's a controversial video in a way, but that's not like a topic that's very heated, and it's good sometimes to take a break from the feminism, veganism, politics video, because yeah, sometimes it gets kind of exhausting. So thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy what I put out there, you can always check out my Patreon if you can spare $1 a month. I post about 3 or 4 times a week. I upload videos on there, I upload pictures and things that are a bit like blog posts, I guess, and it's really easy to chat only for $1 a month. So yeah, thank you for watching this video guys, and I'll talk to you soon.